been a lot of talk about season ticket renewals, and I understand that if you are not a season ticket holder or you don't go to games and you might be overseas, this is not the juiciest of topics, not a particularly interesting conversation. However, when you factor it in with a few other things, like the possible retention of David Moyes, the fact that West Ham are looking to increase the stadium to up to 66,000 seats, and the fact that we may well have our transfer spend curtailed by financial fair play, I think you might have a bit of a recipe for disaster going on here. Now, I think there's an interesting play, and that is I received an email from the club saying, "Oi, you, renew your season ticket." And the date that they gave to do it, if I've got this wrong, I'm only out by a day or two, it was something like the 3rd of June. Now, the 3rd of June was an interesting one because on the 3rd of June, we're probably unlikely to know who the manager is going to be for next season. And this is where a lack of information is a real hindrance. Now, I've got to say, you go back 12 months and this isn't a problem. I'll tell you why it's not a problem. It's not a problem because A, we knew we had European football, and B, we knew the manager was going to be. So if you were going into the proposition of buying a season ticket, you were going in with your eyes wide open, really. You knew who the manager was, you knew what the style of play was going to be, and you had another European campaign to look forward to. I think in many respects, the club had done really, really well. I think, bearing in mind, we had a relegation-threatened season for part of it. We rallied towards the end. We won a trophy. Brilliant. I think in many respects, you had the perfect mix for getting the fans to renew their season tickets. Who wouldn't want to do so? We're in a different situation this time. And for that reason, I think the club may find themselves in a little bit of a pickle. First of all, you've got to go to the state that everything is in. I mean, look, if you drive, and I guess it's the same globally, I can only talk about the UK, everyone's seen their insurances go up for their car, right? I mean, ridiculous. So mine went up. Mine almost doubled. All right, I got a renewal. That was a renewal quote, and I went and shopped around. But even once I'd shopped around on comparison websites, my insurance was still, I mean, well, I'll tell you now, it was 500 quid, and it basically was like 780 quid. I mean, it's gone up a lot, an awful lot. And no, you're probably thinking he's a dodgy driver. What's he been up to? But, you know, it's a lot of extra money. And I think for the majority of people, you're certainly finding your wages haven't gone up that much. To go out and do a bit of shopping is more expensive. Everything's more expensive. Your council tax has gone, my council tax has gone up. I only assume yours is as well. Everything is becoming more expensive. And if you're not getting a wage increase, then you're getting squeezed, aren't you? Now, let me get this right. I do think the season ticket increases wouldn't have particularly mattered last season for all the reasons that I've said. This season, it just feels a little bit more like there's a decision to be made. So let me just look. I've got it written up here. It's £345 is, I think it's a band 6 season ticket. By Premier League standards, that's cheap as chips. Actually, chips are bloody expensive, by the way. Chips? Bloody cod and chips. Are you having a laugh? It's a tenner. Anyway, don't worry about that. Everything's expensive, is my point. I'll tell you what, you're not getting too many cod and chips, actually, for a season ticket. That's good value, right? I really do think so. Look, they're not the best seats in the house. They're a long way from the pitch. But there's probably not too many other clubs where you can go and watch Premier League football for that money. I don't have a complaint there because they're amongst the cheapest seats in the house. So the season ticket price increases are between 6 and 11%. However, at the top end, and that's a lot of your 1966 seats, they are 1,720. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, you know. And if you're looking at a percentage of that, you know, it's a lot extra, isn't it? Now, I guess you've got to say, under normal circumstances, you'd probably say, well, the club have incurred greater costs, right? Your energy bills have gone up. Last 2 or 3 years been horrendous for energy costs. And normally if you're running a stadium, you'd probably feel you had to pass that on to your customer. You know, it can't be, look, I'll tell you what, me switching these lights on that I've got going on at the moment, I'll say, look, I'll switch one off now. Let's see how we go. See, that saves me a little bit of money. Maybe I could do a video like this. But me, hey, look, I'm only joking. Me doing these videos like this and me switching the lights on, I go back in and I look at the old smart meter and think, oh, hold on. I'm a bit tight. You're getting the gist. What it must be like when you switch the floodlights on, it must cost a lot. But West Ham are not in that situation because we've got this ridiculous deal with the London Stadium whereby I don't think we pay the bills. I think we pay a rent, but we don't pay the energy costs. So all those price increases that basically don't get passed on to the club, as I understand it. I'm happy to be corrected, but I don't believe that that's the case. But I just think when you're looking at it, and I understand that football clubs, by and large, have to put their ticket prices up. However, where I think it starts to become a problem is twofold. I think we've done really, really well to get 60-odd thousand fans in that stadium. Now, there's not 60,000 fans in there every week. There's really, really not. But most of the seats are paid for. Now, that's got to be a good thing, right? That means the club are getting money in through the turnstiles, at least, through ticketing. I think that's pretty good. However, let's be honest, it ain't the best football in the world, is it? It's definitely £345 football rather than £1,720 football. I think that's to be the case. And I think if you're going to ask a club that has traditionally had 35,000 fans, 34,000 fans, or at Upton Park, 20, something like that, 20-odd thousand season ticket holders to suddenly fill 60-odd thousand, that's a big ask. Now at this point, they're trying to increase the capacity to 66,000. You want a little bit of an incentive, right? And when your budget's squeezed because the milk's more expensive and the electricity's more expensive, you're going to be looking for value in everything. Doesn't matter whether it's your car insurance, your food shop, or your football season ticket. Maybe, just maybe, it's enough to make your decision and think, hold on a second, maybe I won't get a season ticket. Maybe I'll just get club membership and look to buy and go where I can. And I do think that when they're putting the prices up, there has to be a real incentive to go. And I think not knowing the future of the manager is a tough one. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everybody dislikes David Moyes' brand of football, right? Some people do. Some people don't mind it. Some people are really happy with the job David Moyes has got. And it's important that, pay attention to those people. But it's fair to say that there are a large number of people who are fed up with the brand of football. We hear it all the time. What do we hear all the time? We hear people saying, that's it, if Moyes is here next season, I'm not renewing. Now, to be fair, I don't know how much of that is just people venting and how much of it is true, but we hear a lot of it. I think it's fair to say that quite a few thousand people say it. I do wonder if the board are going to be in a situation whereby they're hindered with that. Are you going to wait off just a little bit and see what the manager's doing, to see what the future of the manager is? Everybody knows, but there's going to be a section of fans who are going to wait. And I totally understand it. Money's tight. Look, football's meant to be an escape, right? Football's meant to be a release. Football's meant to be something that you enjoy. We've said on numerous occasions, often the best time we have going to the stadium is actually, well, not going to the stadium, is attending a game, is before and after the match. The match can be really quite dire sometimes. So you sort of ideally, if you want to encourage people to attend and you want to find another 6,000 fans on top of the amount you've already got, you probably want an exciting brand of football. So I don't think the brand of football helps. I don't think the price increase helps. And the final factor, I've got to say, is FFP. Profit and sustainability. That's not FFP. That's financial fair play. I hate, I've got to tell you now, I will keep telling you. For years I've repeated myself about the team being slow, right? Less so since we got Kudus in the team, it has to be said. People think, change the record, like a scratch record. I will be like a scratch record until it changes. Profit and sustainability. I don't want football clubs to make a profit. I think demanding football clubs make a profit has gone too far the other way. Ensure they don't go out of business, yes. But why have football clubs got to make a profit? I think this is, I don't even like it. The word shouldn't even, it's a bit like brand, isn't it? Brand. Profit shouldn't be involved in football. Brand shouldn't be involved in football. I don't like it. But hey, look, that's the terminology, and that's the terminology because those are in the rules. The profit and sustainability. That means that a lot of clubs are not going to be spending. I think, and I don't know, by the way, I don't know this for a fact, I think we may have had our day. And we're by far not the worst of all the clubs. When I say we've had our day, I think quite possibly we won't be seeing our transfer record broken for a very, very long time. Because whilst we might not be down as in as bad a situation as Everton, yesterday in the video we spoke about that and we're going to possibly have to sell Onana. We've featured in the last week or so that West Ham might be looking at Nottingham Forest, a couple of players from Nottingham Forest, Gibbs White and Wanyu. They have to sell. West Ham are not in that situation. But I think we're only in that situation because we just did sell, and that's Declan Rice. And I think the more you see of this, you're thinking, hold on a second, there's something a little bit funny going on here. It seems like everybody's got to sell, even Aston Villa. It seems like everybody's got to sell apart from the really big clubs. Well, how's this managed to happen? And so I think it's another factor. It factors it into it. I'm not saying, look, we've got Tim Steidten in there, we've got some good young players, all that we know is good. But just in terms of looking forward to the next season, one of the things you might do is if you know you're going to have a good old spend up, you're going to buy some good players, might be another encouraging factor, might be another reason for you to go and renew your season ticket, right? If that's going to be curtailed, and I'm not saying West Ham will sign nobody, that's not what I'm saying. But possibly just maybe there'd be no stellar signings. Nothing like Kudus, nothing like Paquetá. Look, when Scamacca came in, all right, he didn't work out, but we all loved the fact that we'd signed him, right? Just nobody like that. Just maybe a bunch of £5 and £10 million signings or something like that, one £20 million signing and a smattering of others. We've already got, I think, the smallest squad in the Premier League in terms of senior registered players. We've got the second oldest, we've covered that again. A rebuild is needed. So I'm not entirely sure that we're going to find ourselves in a situation whereby we're going to be signing all of these players and particularly be signing players for big money. And I just wonder if you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, hold on a second. The price of the season ticket's gone up. I'm not sure we're going to really sign anyone of any note. We're probably going to lose our best player. I'm assuming you think, and you might have your own decision on this, assuming you think that Lucas Paquetá is our best player, but you get what I'm going with this. We might lose our best player and we might be playing pretty pragmatic football next season. Then I think you might have a little consideration there. Now, let me get at something very, very right here. The future of the club is not at stake here. And I guess for that reason, in many respects, we should be grateful. We're not in a situation of Everton. We're not in a situation of Nottingham Forest. So actually, the sort of prudent and thrifty way that the ownership have run West Ham means that we're not going to probably be deducted any points next season. That's really good. The fact that we have this excellent deal on the stadium probably means that we're not going to incur the sort of costs as prices rise on everything that other clubs are going to incur. I think that's really good. And the fact that we have a pragmatic manager who's, doesn't play the most inspiring of football, but he's a safe pair of hands. And in many respects, if you're going to have a very, very limited budget and you want to survive in the Premier League, then David Moyes is probably precisely your man. However, what I would say is a safety-first manager, a lack of a transfer spend, and increased season ticket prices are probably very, very good for the sustainability of the club. They're probably not the right combination of things if what you want to do is fill up a 66,000-seater stadium.